This show is brought to you by Go Live TV. Download the app now.
Welcome. Joe Volpe, publisher of Corriere Canadese, North America's only Italian-language daily newspaper, with the comment of the day. And it surrounds a very recent announcement the other day by none other than President Trump, who took it upon himself to pardon Conrad Black, otherwise known as Lord Black, who had been convicted. He's a convicted felon, but he gave him a pardon. He's a Canadian. So here's the comment of the day. Foreign influence in Canadian affairs. I don't know Conrad Black personally. In many respects, he's a figure in Canadian society who is larger than life. He has many admirers for reasons which can pass most objective criteria. The rigor of his intellectual reasoning and his academic analyses, especially when compared to the lesser mortals who pine to be associated with him professionally in the media world, is impressive. The British, for example, were so taken by his redoubtable achievements in finance and media that in 2001 they were moved to offer him a lordship in the British House of Lords, Canadian equivalent of the Senate, perhaps a little bit more significant. A rare and singularly significant way to recognize the value of a citizen from a former colony. Black was and continues to be a citizen of England. The bestowing of such an honorific on a Canadian citizen by a foreign government unfortunately requires the consent of the Canadian government. Then Prime Minister Jean Chrétien would not give it. It matters little that I, as a member of caucus at the time, did not have a fulsome appreciation of the rationale, real or contrived. Significantly, though, Mr. Black chose a solution to work around the impasse that involved him voluntarily giving up his Canadian citizenship. He renounced it. It could not have been an easy decision for a scion of Canada's establishment. Once no longer a Canadian and Chrétien's barrier removed, Mr. Black was installed as a lord in the relevant chamber of the British Parliament. He remained such, notwithstanding his absence of several years. That absence was a consequence of legal problems, trial, and conviction in American court in 2007. He served his time in American jail. Other consequences saw the revocation of Canadian titles and recognitions. As a convicted felon, he could no longer aspire to regain residency, much less citizenship, in Canada. The law is quite clear on this issue. Only ministerial intervention can permit the granting of a temporary residence and a work permit in such cases. Former Minister of Immigration Jason Kenney, 5 years ago, exercised his ministerial discretion to allow Mr. Black to re-enter Canada. The country has not suffered for this decision or from Mr. Black's subsequent work and involvement in our society. Now, without belittling the decision, it is a use of ministerial discretion not afforded to families like the Dimitri, the Neves, or the Vincente, whose applications for residency and work are not encumbered by a legacy of contrary court decisions for cause. These three families do not have friends in high places. Blessed are they who do. Mr. Black has many. He's a prolific writer and often sought-after political commentator. Recently, he published an apparently favorable book extolling the virtues of one Donald Trump. I confess to not having read it. No matter, the Donald did, and being a friend in high places, Mr. Trump exercised his power to pardon Mr. Black. So far, however, the convictions stay on the record, and Mr. Black, not being a Canadian citizen, is still ineligible to gain permanent residency in Canada. He still has friends in high places, as well as my respect for his intellectual prowess. The Dimitri, the Neves, and Vicente have only their desire to work and improve the lot of their families and children in Canada. I add my personal respect and best wishes for a positive decision on the part of a minister with the courage and wisdom to use his discretion in their favor. Joe Volpe for Corriere Canadese, for Go Live TV, Corcan Media Group, thanking you for following us and inviting you to continue to follow us on social media, but to stay tuned as our new journalist Claudia Dimitri makes the comment in Italian, followed by one by Mr. Carlos Lima, the director of our Portuguese programming. Ciao.